trip to paradise.
Are you ready? Okay, let's do it.
It's Monday night, and we are in Germany for the third round of ATC13. Another sprint challenge. 2 races, 2 winners. Maybe. There's always a possibility that someone will sweep one of these, but with a 12-car invert for the second race, it's definitely not an easy task. And today, it's a 15-minute race, followed by a 35-minute race, and that 35-minute race is going to have a pit stop, so something for the drivers to contend with. Let's take a look at the starting grid for today's race. At the front, we have a triple lockout. Saralegui, Fernandez, and Fabi. Gonzalo Fabi, the newest member of ATR Argentos. Those 3 are in the top 3, and Saralegui eked out pole by 1/1000th of a second over Fernandez. Saralegui collected his first career victory last week. This week, it is Fernandez looking for his first career victory. He is now the only member of that team that of that trio that has not picked one up. Starting on the front row today, good chance for him. Polasek and Carr starting right behind. Polasek looking for his first victory of the season. Feels like it's been a little late for the defending champion, so we'll see how eager he is to get to the front. James Carr, Lozon, Mayer, Hendricks, McKenzie down in 9th next to Acatella. And then you have McFarlane 2, Schink, and Akers. And then Bauer ahead of your Delta pole sitter, Tianyi Chang. And then you have Brian Saab and Evan Clavijo in P2, P3 Delta class behind. The rest of the grid is as follows. Yongsi Lin down there in 22nd. And then Edward Gorman's right next to him. Zepka down in 25th. Nigel Honegger, I think that is his first start in ATC, if I'm correct. A lot of cars in this race. We have Patrick Elgstrand making a guest appearance here. Daniel Sedano down in 34th. And then Ian Bertolucci, I don't think he is gridding, but he is all the way down in 47th. The drivers are set, some of them starting all the way back on the final corner, which is covered with gravel. They did not get that stuff cleaned up before the start of the race. Sarah Legge will lead us off here at Oschersleben. And we are a go for race 1 today, and ATR will lead us off. 3 cars barreling down to turn 1. Polasek got a good start. He's trying to get alongside Gonzalo Fabi, heading down into the first corner. Car moving across the track to cover off Micah Hendricks, and then Lazan in the middle, blocking the SRG cars on the inside. McKenzie relegated to the outside of turn 2 here, and Fernandez is going to slip into the lead around his teammate through the first 2 corners. So a change of lead right there at the start, and that is Fernandez up front, and this field has done a good job keeping this clean thus far. Here they go through one of the first big sweepers here, and this is going to be a test of the field for sure as they come through the corner. Fernandez leads them through, and this is where you really got to get on the brakes, and Mayers side by side with McKenzie there, and that is a battle for top 10 position. And look at all of these cars going through here. Now they got to pile into this chicane, and they the SRG cars are going to let McKenzie slot in there. Polasek has secured third ahead of Gonzalo Fabi. And Carr, Lazan, Hendricks, Mayer, McKenzie, McFarlane, that rounds out the top 10. Tianyi Chang has held on to the Delta lead thus far. Saab is just behind him, though, 1 spot off of the Delta leader. We are about to wrap up the first lap of racing here. Fernandez is your overall leader. He's got his teammate Manuel Saralegui right on his back bumper as they go through all kinds of gravel. Saraleguy's going to pull even more gravel onto the track. It's flying everywhere here. The whole field is still together. This is a great lap, a clean lap for the whole field. It's now overtaking from here on out is going to be difficult. 15 minutes. That is how long that this race is, so not a whole lot of time to get passes done. Let's see what kind of action we've got in the field. I see Lewis Gilbert right on the back of Mitchell Rickmeyer heading into the first corner. I see Yongsi Lin. He's on the outside of Clavijo as they head into turn 3. He's going to hang it around the banked corner. Clavijo will get the better exit. Lin has to go a bit wide, and now Zepka's going to slip alongside. And now into the sweeper. This is going to be really difficult. If you're the inside car, it's hard to judge what the outside car is doing. And then the outside car can carry the momentum in, take the inside line, and Zepka has to back off, and someone's gone off. That is Kramer, who got into a bit of a slide. Lazan has slipped behind McKenzie now. I'm hearing he got into a bit of a slide as well, so he's ahead of McFarlane. McFarlane under pressure from Connor Encatella, who's got Francois Schink to deal with, so he has to go for some kind of move here, or else Francois is going to take the open door, and he may do it anyway. They get the elbows out, heading into the final 2 corners. This is still wheel-to-wheel action, and Schink's going to try and stick a nose ahead. Oh, but Connor's not going to let him. Oh, little touch. They somehow do not come to total blows there. Definitely a big impact, but they stay on track. And that is impressive stuff from those drivers, because that could have easily ended in tears for both of them. But into turn 1, Schink is going to take that position, and he's up into 11th. Further back, I see Tyler Stuckey, Zachary Bowman, Kyle Murray, Daniel Sedano, all these guys in a battle here. Oh, there went Trenton Kramer. He got, I think, spun off. His car shot right, and that is it for him. We go back to Matt Zepka. He's got Fuad Rijla on his left side as they head to turn 3. Hard to keep the car gripped up on that outside line, but I think he's going to stay ahead. So we jump to Cooper Akers, who's just ahead of Raymond 2. Look at them all stack up behind. That is not something you want to see at all. Not when you're trying to fend off that many cars. And that is a long train. But we look back up to the front. Fernandez, remember, no career wins yet in the Alpha Touring Challenge. He's just a little over 10 minutes away from making that first win a reality. He's got his teammate Saraleghi behind. And then Polasek, the defending champion, in third, looking for his first win of the season. Look back to David Bauer. He's trailing Connor Acatella now. Trying to get around Acatella, follow Schenk through. Edward Gorman, he's right on the back of Jason Breen. He's a part of this larger group that involves, well, Breen is third place in the Delta class. Clavijo is fourth. So he's mixed right in there with all of the Delta guys. And then a little further back, I see JB Dejay, old habits die hard, and Nate Kerr is the guy who's defending against him. And into turn 1, actually the car behind, that's Chris McDonald. He went in there a little deep and going really wide. And look at that. See that area where he just went wide? That is pit exit. And we do have a pit stop lined up for the second race, so it's going to be spicy to see how that plays out. Behind, you see Spencer Clark getting wheel-to-wheel with Yellow Tide Racing driver Mitchell Rickmeyer. And Rickmeyer's going to stay ahead for the moment. Acatella and Bauer are wheel-to-wheel, and Acatella on the preferred inside line through here. Oh, going a little wide there, but Bauer can't do anything as they come through this chicane. If you touch one of those bollards, it is a slow-down penalty. So you'll see the drivers doing everything they can to avoid that, but get as close to it as possible because there's a nice dip there that pulls the car through that chicane corner. So we look back now. McKenzie's under pressure from Lazan and into the corner. Oh, Lazan's gotten into him and McKenzie saved it. Lazan has not, at least not yet. He goes across the track into the gravel. Schenk goes by, but he manages to gather it up without damage. And remember, the invert is the top 12. He stayed in the invert for now. He's got his teammate David Bauer and Connor Acatella hungry behind. Logan McKenzie keeping Mayer behind there into turn 1. And then Bauer is going to go around Acatella in the same corner, and Lazan stays in 11th. A lot of cars fighting for that last invert spot that Bauer is sitting in right now. Any mistakes, and any one of these guys could get it. We look back to the Delta leaders. We have Tianyi Chang and Brian Saab, and then further back, Jason Breen and Evan Clavijo. Now, Saab, I believe, was supposed to serve a pit lane start at the beginning of this race, so he may incur a penalty for this race, and maybe a severe one. So for now, if Chang, he may not know it, but he probably is. He probably needs to be worried about Breen, not Saab. We look a little further back and see Lynn and Zepka still coming to blows deep in the field. And up ahead, Akers has 2 right on his back bumper, and Raymond is going to look for a move, but 2 can't beat him on the brakes. So we look up front and off the final corner, halfway through this 15-minute sprint. This is the shortest type of sprint the series has run since, I believe, season 1. It's been a while since we've run 15-minute races here, and these guys are all conducting themselves quite nicely. They know that A, big points are on the line even though it's 15 minutes, and B, it sets your starting position for the next race, so hugely important. Raymond 2 still on the hunt, but Damon Mitchell has closed up behind. The Delta leaders are just a little further back there as well. We look back to Clark and Rickmeyer. This could end up being another fight as they barrel down to turn 1. Clark decides to not go for that. Zepka is side by side with Fuad Rijla into turn 3. And on the inside line, Zepka should be able to hold that. That's definitely the line you want to be on through that corner. We bounce back to Cooper Akers. He's still keeping 2 behind him. We've been following this battle a good bit today because Raymond has just not been able to get by. And I just got a notification that Sarah Leggy went off track, maybe a bit wide at the last corner. Polasek was not able to get any sort of run on him down to the sweepers here. So we bounce back to 3rd place in the Delta class, Jason Breen. He's sandwiched in between Clavijo, another Delta driver, and then Edward Gorman and Mark Darnell. And this, I mean, there's a lot of cars packed together here in the field. This is sort of the tail end of the larger Alpha group. And I'm seeing Al Rijla is going for another move on Zepka in the final corner, trying to stick a nose in, but can't get it done. So he has to stay behind the Sia driver for the moment. Yanyi Chang under pressure from Saab, nothing into turn 1. You see these guys get so close into turn 1, but then they just can't capitalize on it because it's not really a braking zone. You go in there so hard. You have to be alongside the car you want to pass already if you want to make something happen into turn 1. 5 minutes to go for Fernandez up front. Sarah Leggy 7/10 behind. He's never fallen more than 1 second behind Fernandez, but with Polasek applying pressure, that may be about to happen. David Thomas getting passed by Yongsi Lin as Lin continues a minor recovery. He started 22nd, down in 23rd right now. And then further back, Clark and Rickmeyer going at it again. And Clark's going to be on the inside here. And he will eke ahead. Rickmeyer giving him a little nudge, though, to let him know that position was not won easily. Gorman under pressure from Jason Breen. But Breen has to back off. And there's so many cars there. Here's the problem. If you go for a pass and you don't pull it off, you're at risk of getting past yourself. You open the door to the cars behind. It's one of those type of tracks where you have to be so careful about every move you make and just judge. You have to be judging them all so perfectly, or else you are exposing yourself greatly. Rickmeyer, Tyler Stuckey now going around Rickmeyer. That is for 14th in class. Cooper Akers still this is really the closest battle on track. I think the one that has the biggest chance of changing before the race ends. One of the big things that's happening here is Akers has cut 2 and Mitchell off from the cars ahead. And the cars ahead are fighting for that last invert spot. You see Acatella, he's running in 13th and Bauer in 12th. So he sits waiting to be inverted on the pole. Francois Schink here trying to keep Lazan behind. And this is for a top 10 in the race. This is one of the closer battles on track right now. Schink doing all he can to keep the breakfast for dinner driver in his rear view. So we look back to Zachary Bowman of 654 Motorsports. He's running behind Daniel Cedeno. He's currently P9 in class. And this group right here, one of the larger groups of Delta drivers. You have Nate Kerr behind him, JB DeJay, Chris McDonald, Patrick Elgstrand. And it looks like Chang has pulled up to the back of this group, led by his teammate Cooper Akers. You have Akers, 2, Mitchell, and then Chang, the Delta leader, just trying to hold on for his first career Delta victory. And similar situation unfolding. Oh! For Augustin Fernandez up front as I see Saab go through there deep again. Fernandez has Sarah Leggy on top of him, has Polasek on top of him, and he should get the white flag next time by. But for now, he's just got to hold on. Last season, 2 seasons ago at Suzuka, he had a huge lead on off the invert, and a mechanical failure saw him fall out of the lead. Let's see if he can get that redemption today. We jump back to Edward Gorman, who has Damon Mitchell behind him. Mitchell has made some kind of mistake and slipped behind Chang, Saab, Darnell, and Gorman, and now he's sitting ahead of Breen, and this whole field continues to be extremely close. You look further forward, again to Cooper Acres, keeping Raymond behind. You have McKenzie and McFarland up ahead. It doesn't look like they are going to be changing positions. It is white flag for Fernandez. He enters turn 1 with his teammate on his bumper, but Polasek has lost ground. Polasek now almost 2 seconds behind. Will Gorman go for something into turn 1 here? He looks to the left of Darnell, but thinks better of it, tucks back in. McAllister, Gareth McAllister making a move on Sean Gaynor. Those two both making their first starts in the series and battling for P16 in class. Schenk still under pressure from Lazan, but so far, so good for the Sia driver trying to hold on to that top 10. Interesting championship implications from this race so far. Logan McKenzie, P1 of the championship, McFarland, P2. Those guys sitting 8th and 9th in the race right now. The leader, that is going to be Augustin Fernandez. He's just got 2 corners to go now to claim his first career victory in the Alpha Touring Challenge. It has been almost 3 seasons coming, but we knew it was going to happen eventually. Around the final corner of the 956, Augustin Fernandez, he wins the first race at Oschersleben. And then further back in the field, Serleggy and Polasek round out the Alpha podium. Yanyi Chang, he comes around the final corner. And for T0 Racing, it is a first Delta victory for Chang across the line. Saab at the moment scored as P2, Breen P3, and Clavijo P4 if something were to happen to Saab. And that wraps up the first race of the day. Fernandez celebrating there on the backstretch. We will bring the second race to you shortly here at Oschersleben. Well, a little bit of time has passed, and after a short warm-up, the drivers are getting ready for the second race of the day. 35 minutes and 1 pit stop. The drivers do not have enough fuel to make it to the end. And one of the caveats here, or at least we thought it was going to be a caveat, was the rain. The rain not on the radar at all, despite how it looks out there. I promise the rain, it does not exist. So now we look to the front of the field. It is David Bauer on the front of the front row. He gets the invert pole for this race. We're about 5 seconds away from getting the green flag. And we wait for the signal. And we are go for the second race. 35 minutes of racing here at Oschersleben are off, and Bauer racing down to turn 1. Luzon trying to keep Schenk behind him into turn 1. Can he stay in second place so he can run defense for his teammate? Schenk trying to stick it in there. McFarland going around the outside of McKenzie through the first corners. Hendricks slips through on Mayer. Polasek trying to follow. And Bauer will lead. Schenk and Luzon going wheel to wheel into turn 3 still. And they've sorted things out, but now McFarland's slipped alongside Schenk. McKenzie on the inside of Hendricks. Hendricks slips behind McKenzie. Now McKenzie trying to go up the inside of Schenk. He slips behind McFarland. McFarland into third. Polasek dueling with Mayer, with Gonzalo Fabi. Oh, they're going to go wheel to wheel through the chicane. This can't end well. Who's going to back out? It's going to be Mayer at the last second. That's going to stack everyone up behind. That's gotten Cooper Acres around the outside, on the outside of 2 here. Let's see if he has anywhere to take that momentum further ahead. It is, that looked like McKenzie being under pressure from Hendricks and into the corner. Nobody going for any passes, so we've gone through almost one lap here. Fabi took that curbing a little awkwardly, and now all three of the ATR cars are back to back to back, 9th, 10th, and 11th. And look at all the dust and gravel there. As they come off the final corner, David Bauer will lead the first lap of the second race here at Oschersleben. Evan Clavijo battling with Brian Saab for P2 in the Delta class, and he has David Thomas just behind. Thomas is bump drafting Saab down to turn 1, and he shoves him past Clavijo, and Clavijo's going to have to go really wide and into a slide, actually, at the exit of turn 1, and he parks on the outside of the track. Meanwhile, Nate Kerr and Yongsi Lin going wheel to wheel on the exit of turn 2 down to turn 3. Kerr's got some right front damage, and he'll tuck in behind Lin. Up ahead, Bauer, Schink, McKenzie, McFarland, they're all going at it for second, for third in this race. Early on, Bauer and McFarland dueling for this. McFarland takes a shot, and Bauer stays ahead in this battle. And this is important. He's not only is he running defense for Lazan, but Bauer himself, it's difficult to pass here, and you want to stay ahead for the pit stops, but the whole field running much slower lap times than the last race. So he's definitely holding up, or at the very least, everyone's stacking up. Schink and McKenzie gonna go side by side. At the end of the straight, McKenzie has a nose ahead, but Schink around the outside carries the momentum, and McKenzie has nowhere to go with that one. Further back in the field, I see Rakowski working on the back of Brian Perez for 14th in class, and then you have McAllister, Kramer, Gaynor all battling. Gaynor going in deep and just slipping ahead of Kramer there. That was a tight fit. Up ahead, Gonzalo Fabi is wheel to wheel with Michael Polasek. Polasek's beating him out of the first corner. He got a bad run. Now he's under pressure from more cars behind. Mayer on the left, coming up the left side of him. Mayer's already dueling with Saraleghi into turn 1. Mayer's gotten past one ATR car. He's gotten past two ATR cars. Now he's looking for Fabi. He started a little further up, so he's trying not to fall too much further back. A lot of battling up front. I see Tianyi Chang is your Delta leader right now with what happened to Clavijo, and Saab's further back. So right now he's looking to go for the back-to-back for the moment. Nate Kerr had to jump to the pits, and Connor Acatella has just run the fastest lap of the race, buried back in 12th, if that gives you an idea of how fast this field is currently moving. And a lot of that had to do with Bauer putting on a defense on McFarland, but those two stopped fighting a little bit right as this group further behind, Schink and McKenzie and the others, started dueling, and that has created a nice little gap. So maybe this field will start to stretch out a little bit as things continue. Rakowski and Perez going wheel to wheel through the chicane. Tight stuff. I'm not sure Perez has cut the track there, but Rakowski certainly went into the grass there and is going to get crossed over. And now down the back straightaway in the fog. Not a whole lot for the blimp to see there, but Perez is going to have the momentum and ekes by for 13th in class. A little bit of contact on entry to the corner, and that exposes Rakowski to, that's the 992 of Gareth McAllister, and Kramer goes by as well. Up ahead, you still have Mayer holding off two of the ATR drivers behind. We went a bit wide in turn 1, and that is going to be Saraleghi trying to stick a nose in, but he just can't do it. Not a whole lot of space there, and yeah, for Mayer, he's trying to hold off the first and second place finishers in the first race. They qualified first and second, so they have a little bit of pace behind. But people are going to be running a slightly different race today. It's going to be more about waiting for the right time to pit, and the pit window not open yet. It's not super wide, not super narrow. And if you're McFarland, you want to get by Bauer before those pit stops hit. The window will probably open 10 to 15 minutes into the race and close about 25 to 30 minutes into the race. This is a 35-minute race. I'd be surprised if anyone gets super close to the 30-minute mark. It's only a 25-liter tank. We look back at Fabi. He's still stuck behind Polasek. We'll look to third place in the Delta class. That's Fuad Al-Rijla. He's looking at the back of David Thomas, and Matt Zepka and Yongxia Lin are behind him, and that is a pairing that got to know each other quite well in the first race. And they are once again running close to each other in this one. It looks like some of the gravel has cleared off that final corner. Nice to see. Delta leader Chang is still holding a solid gap to Saab and the rest of the field. Further back, you see Tyler Stuckey and Patrick Elkstrand going wheel to wheel. And I think it was Stuckey who got the bad run out of the corner, and that's Elkstrand who is going to take over for P8 in the Delta class. And further behind, Trenton Kramer on the inside of Gareth McAllister into turn 1. McAllister's going to have that one, but goes a bit wide, pushing Kramer out. And I saw Brian Perez has gone off, and he was sitting on the outside of turn 1 there. Kramer's gotten a better run off of turn 2. And for 13th in class, he goes into turn 3, and he's got it. Murkowski's going to try and follow him through here. She's got the inside line. I don't know what line you want when you're heading into this part of the track, but you've got her and not Gaynor, McAllister, but then you have Gaynor and Clavijo behind. She gets ahead. Clavijo and Gaynor are going wheel to wheel with James Carr spectating behind. And that's Kyle Murray on the back of them. We'll go on board with Murray as he watches Carr and Gaynor approach the chicane wheel to wheel. Oh, and a little bit of contact, and Carr has been spun off. Not a whole lot of room for multiple cars through there. We look to Brian Saab. He's under pressure from David Thomas. Thomas looking on the outside of the penultimate corner, and now going into the final corner. These guys all slot back in, but Young Si Lin looking for a little move on Zepka, pushes him off the racing line. But doesn't have the momentum to do anything out of the corner. So let's jump up here. Edward Gorman's in between the two T0 cars, Cooper Akers and your Delta leader, Tianye Chang. This group looks very similar to this group that was here at the end of the last race with Raymond 2 and Mark Darnell and Connor Acatella. Brian Saab is wheel to wheel with David Thomas again. Hard to hold the outside here. Saab's gone a little wide into Thomas. That's opened the door for Al Rijla if he would like to take that spot. Thomas currently running 20th overall, so that's nice points for Al Rijla. He's going to put the nose in. Thomas has to take the wide line through here. He looks a little uncomfortable out there. Neither of them getting a super good run through there. Lynn goes hard in the back of Zepka as they all stack up. So we jump to the front. Polasek not making any inroads on the rest of the field up there, including Hendricks and Fabi, and the rest of the group behind are not putting him under too much pressure. So an interesting group there. Oh, look at this. McKenzie threw on Schink, and now Hendricks is going to try and follow him into the penultimate corner. He's got it. And 2 cars go by Schink just like that, and he decides, you know what? Pit window's just opened. I'm coming down pit lane, and look at how dirty it is. Will this be a clean entry? It's a tricky pit road, but he comes through. He's going to hit the brakes right about here. And he comes down pit lane, the first taker today. So looking to turn 1. Mayer keeping Sarah Leggy and Fernandez behind. And this is an interesting strategy for Schink here. Just 10 minutes into the race, making his pit stop. So if you look at the track map, this is going to place him into some very clean air, I think. It depends on what these cars further back do. We look at Spencer Clark and Patrick Elkstrand going into turn 1 too wide, and Clark up the inside. I see Sedano getting a little loose behind, and he goes off track. He comes back on just as Rakowski goes up the inside of Clavijo. He makes contact with Clavijo, and then Rakowski gets the position. Fedorowski up the inside of what is Chris McDonald for 9th in class. And he's pulled that off, and now Rickmeyer is going to try and follow him through on the inside. 2 Elantras, 1 winner, and it is Rickmeyer. So let's jump back a little further in the field. So now that Francois has made his stop, and he's come out, he's emerged in 40th. Oh, Zepka going a bit wide there. But we look back to Schink, and he has come out in 40th. Looks like he's got a good amount of clean air in front of him, not too much traffic. So he's going to be hoping that he can just lay down the pace now and get a little undercut going. David Bauer still holding off McFarlane while his teammate John Lazon gaps the field. And it has been a while since Lazon last won a race. You have to go back a couple of seasons. But he currently leads right now 3 seconds over the rest of the field. It's an impressive gap so far. We look back, Sedano and Kyle Murray out of the final corner for 16th in class. Sedano, I think they're going to be wheel to wheel. They've both got about the same run down the straightaway, so who's going to back out going into turn one? Who's going to lose out? Nobody pulled into the pits on that lap from what I saw. Kyle Murray's going to jump ahead and take the position. So we look back to Polasek, and we'll go on board with him. And you see Fabi getting into the back of him there, really saying, hey, I know that it's hard to pass here, but if you go slowly through these corners, I'm not afraid to give you a little shove, a little bump draft, a little reminder that I'm here. And look at this. McKenzie got around the outside of McFarland on the exit of that corner and down the straightaway. He may have it all the way ahead, but McFarland puts it back in there. They come to blows. McFarland has to save it. McKenzie gets ahead. McFarland stays ahead of Hendricks. He does not suffer the same fate that Francois did. Through the penultimate corner now, he's going to be trying to keep Hendricks behind him, but he may actually do exactly what Francois did. A little nudge. Gets put outside, into the gravel, and he has been done by two cars right there, letting Hendricks know, not super happy about that one. Just behind Sarah Legge, right on the back of Fabi, but teammates, they're going to decide not to do anything. Edward Gorman has decided to come down pit road. Raymond 2 right up on the back of Connor Acatella there. I see Zepka has also come down pit lane. Look for front end damage on these vehicles because pit lane entry, very dangerous, but it looks like both of them got into their stalls cleanly, and it's just going to be a quick fuel stop. I think I saw someone else coming down pit road. Yes, that's Daniel Sedano in the Audi for Croc Promotions. And I think over the next couple laps, we're going to see pit road start to get a bit more busy. Now, Sarah Legge and Fernandez off screen. They got around Mayer at some point, so the ATR drivers are all reunited here. It's a funny story. Fabi joined the team this week after last week having a little coming together for the lead with Sarah Legge. So, hey, friends forged in fire or something like that. I'm sure that was a fun conversation. We jump back to look at JB Dejay. He's on the back of Zachary Bowman. This is for 4th in class. And Dejay quietly has slipped in the top 5 here along with Bowman. We haven't been talking about either of them, but he's got a run on him here for Yellow Tide Racing. Down to the corner at the end of the straight. He's put the nose in, but Bowman knows he's got it, and he takes the apex. And so they continue on. Chang still leads the Delta class, looking for a Delta sweep. Not something you see super often. And not something you see often in either class these days, a sweep. Saab is currently 3 seconds behind him, and then Rizla is 5 seconds off. So he's 2 seconds back from Saab. Zachary Bowman decides to come down pit road, freeing Dejay from that blockage. And we hit the 15-minute mark, so not even halfway through this race. Still 20 minutes to go. A lot of pit window left for these drivers to decide to utilize. In the pack, here's the interesting thing, is in the longer races, the field usually spreads out enough that if these top drivers pitted, they would pit into traffic, into the back of the field, and it would get a bit complicated for them. But here, what I'm looking at is a field that's so close together that the leaders could actually get away with pitting and maybe get into some clean air somewhere, and an undercut might actually be possible. We know that Francois is attempting it. We jump back to Clavijo. I think he was looking for a move on Rakowski there, but tucks back in. And that's the battle for 12th in class, 29th overall. And looking back to Hendricks, he's not making any inroads on McKenzie, not since passing McFarland. But McKenzie is creeping up to the back of David Bauer. And it's been a while since a car has been on the back of Bauer, because McFarland slipped off the back of him and then had a couple cars past him. Then McKenzie's had to work his way back up here. While all that's happened, Lazon's lead is extended to 4.2 seconds. So this race, more and more, looks like Lazon's to lose. And this is one of the closer battles on track. I see Mitchell Richtmeyer. He is down pit road in the Yellow Tide Racing Elantra. Luzon still on track. McFarland, he's under pressure and loses out to Saraleggi. And this ATR group continues to cut through the SRG drivers as they fall back to them. McFarland, he was all the way up in 3rd place just 5 laps ago. Now sitting down in 8th and in danger of slipping to 9th. Ahead, Polasek, he's in trouble. I think he may have picked up a slowdown through the chicane, and he has to let Gonzalo Fabi by. So another win for ATR for Fabi. He moves up into the top 5 and is free to go chase Micah Hendricks now. Further back, Gareth McAllister and Kyle Murray going at it. This is the battle for 13th. In class. We'll try to stay tuned to that. Let's go on board with the winner of the first race today, Agustin Fernandez, as he comes down the front straightaway. I see John Luzon, our leader. He is on pit road, an early stop, and this only makes sense. If you're the leader, there's really no reason to undercut, not with a 4-second lead. This only makes sense if they put the wrong amount of fuel in the car to start the race. So hopefully he's going to be able to put enough fuel in to make it to the end still. He should. He's well within the fuel window. But as a result, his pit stop is going to be a bit slower than the others. So he may lose some time here. Let's see. Luzon had a 12-second pit stop. That is on average about 4 seconds slower than everyone else. So his 4-second lead is highly dependent on how quickly his teammate David Bauer drives here and how quickly Francois Schenck has been driving. But there are a lot of cars. The top 10, the top 11 are covered by 5.5 seconds here. So this is a tight field, and just the top 8 is covered by 3 seconds. McKenzie right in the back of Bauer, and at this point, you've got 2 choices if you're McKenzie. Do you fight Bauer and try to get past him before the pits, or do you conserve and pit early, go for an undercut? When do you make that decision? We're 19 minutes into this race. McKenzie, Hendricks, Fabi, they're all in a frenetic pursuit of David Bauer, who's now picking up a bonus point for leading laps. Fernandez was very close to McFarland on entry to turn 1 there, but couldn't get it. We look back to Jason Lynn, who is dueling with Sean Gaynor. I didn't recognize Lynn for a moment because of the slightly different color scheme there, but Gaynor's going to go around him there for 14th in class. I see McAllister's lost out to Murray there off of something. Fedorowski and Elkstrand are on pit road. Top 4 still very, very close. And Bauer's gone a bit wide here, but McKenzie just has nowhere to stick the run because he goes a bit wide, but then he goes wide onto the inside line of the corner. It's a big sweeper. So what are you going to do if you're the attacking car? You can't go around the outside because the corner just keeps going. You eventually lose out no matter what kind of entry you get. You can see the entire top 10 on screen right here. McKenzie having to play a little bit of defense. Or no, he was looking for a move on Bauer, actually. He's quite close to the back of him, but not able to do anything. We hit the 20-minute mark. Will any of our leaders pit on this lap? No takers. They continue for another circuit. They will be starting lap 14 this time by. I just noticed Jason Lynn get back by Sean Gaynor, that battle that we were following earlier. I feel like the fog has gotten worse since the first race. And the headlights are certainly shining a bit brighter, it seems. The blimp's not very useful. Let's see how they're doing up there. What kind of... It's a bit foggy up there, but you can tell, even with how foggy it is, that top 10 or so cars, and especially the top 6, they're tight. DeJay pits out of 4th in the Delta class for his fuel stop. We keep our eyes plastered to the front because we don't want to miss a single thing that goes on up here. Kyle Murray has also elected to come down pit road. And, oh, everyone going in a bit wide there, having to gather it up. And we'll go on board with McKenzie here as he tries to follow Bauer, get some kind of run here. They come onto the back straight. I don't think he's close enough to attempt anything. Oh, he put the nose in there. Bauer does have to defend. Goes off the racing line. McKenzie trying to take advantage. Go around the outside, but now Hendricks says, well, what about me? So McKenzie stays on the outside into the final corner. Keeps the momentum. He's able to keep Hendricks behind, but Bauer able to keep McKenzie behind. And they go for another lap. And that lap, what was their lap time on that lap? It was a 1 minute 34. These guys are way off the pace. Too wide into turn one. This looks like a prime opportunity for Hendricks, but he just can't get his nose in on McKenzie, and McKenzie stays right on the back of Bauer, and we have a bunch of people coming down pit road. T0 Racing has come down. Akers, Chang pits out of the Delta lead. David Thomas and Fuad Al-Rijla also on pit lane. So two of the Delta podium sitters. Brian Saab assumes the lead in the meantime. Just over 12 minutes to go. Akers is going to be on pit exit here. And he's well ahead of Chang there. Here they come through the chicane, and McKenzie's not as close to Bauer on this lap. But there is no more than a half second between these cars all the way back to P11. This is an incredible group here thus far, and still none of them have said, you know what, with how slow we're going, I would like to pit. Bauer passes it up. McKenzie comes down. Hendricks and Fabi, all three split off. So here they come to the entrance of pit lane. And that will leave Bauer, Polasek, Saraleghi, McFarland, Fernandez, and Mayer out on the track. Mitchell's also going to come down pit road now. Haven't talked about him a bunch today. At least not during this race. We look to Bauer. And actually, these leaders, let's see where they come out in relation to Francois and to Lazan. Lazan is coming down the front straightaway now. This is going to be very close. Hold on. Watch pit exit here. Lazan hits turn one. There's Fabi. There's Hendricks. There's McKenzie. He will stay in the lead, but all 4 seconds of that lead are gone. Not only that, but where is Schink? He's a whole 5 seconds behind this group, just coming through turn one now. So he was not on the pace that he needed to be on to complete that undercut. So we look up front now. If Lazan was that close to getting undercut, if this group goes any slower, well, actually from here on out, I think if this group goes any slower, they're going to be in trouble because they'll start losing out to the people who pitted on the last lap. I think all these guys need to respond now. There comes Bauer. Polasek chooses to stay out along with the rest of the group. So the rest of the group thinks that they have the pace, and that makes sense. That's all the faster guys from the last race. Mayer stays out. Where is that group? They're running 9th and 10th right now, Lazan and McKenzie. 10 minutes to go here at Oschersleben. Mark Darnell also comes down pit road. So cars that have not pitted, you see the amount of time each car spent in its pit stall here. So you can see who's pitted and who's not. And actually, here's the overall pit lane time. And you can see Lazan 3 seconds slower overall than Bauer, 4 seconds than. And Bauer out on the track right now. He's going to end up behind Hendricks just barely, but he gets a little over-under here, and actually with some momentum will be contesting the outside, but nothing doing there. So now Polasek will pick up a bonus point for leading a lap, and the defending champion will lead the field as he and the rest of the top 7 have not pulled into pit lane yet. That group, along with Gareth McAllister, those are the only 8 cars on track that have yet to come down pit road. They're waiting until the very last moment here. And Polasek does come down. McFarland follows him, but Saralegui and Fernandez will stay out one more lap. And does Raymond 2 follow them? Yes, 2 is down pit road as well. And Mayer, so you have to assume, I almost think the ATR guys may have done a little bit of fuel saving because the rest of the field looks like it's coming in. Here comes Brian Saab. And now we look to Gareth McAllister to see if he'll come down pit road or not. We also look to the leaders to see where they will emerge in reference to this group. So here they are. Polasek is first down the line. You see Lauzon and McKenzie in the background. McFarland almost beat Polasek off of pit lane. And here they come. Lauzon into turn 1. They're going to go by Polasek and McFarland by a good amount. But Hendricks gets around McFarland but gets stuck behind Polasek. So a little win there for the Yellow Flag Motorsports driver. The undercut or the overcut working for him, and he gets by the Croc Promotions Audi. Brian Saab on pit lane exit. He's going to be right alongside Yongsi Lin, and crucially, he is ahead in the Delta class. Tianyi Chang has been held up. Brian Saab put down the laps he needed, and now he has emerged into the lead. And Lin battling with him here for 17th overall, but this Delta leader, he's got a good gap. Chang is 2.5 seconds behind him, and now he's got Mitchell and Lin side by side behind him. And finally, Saralegui and Fernandez will pull into pit road. So just over, or just under 7 minutes left. We're going to see Lauzon resume the lead of this race, but it will be a much less comfortable lead than he would have wanted. McKenzie is less than half a second off of him. Polasek not that much further behind. Who will win the second and final race today here at Oschersleben? The time is ticking down. We look to Saralegui, who is out of the pits much earlier than his teammate Fernandez. Fernandez slower in pit lane. And Saralegui is going to come out well at the back right here. And yeah, Fernandez definitely had a slow entry or something because his pit lane time is not, it is 3 seconds slower than Saraleguy's. But his stop isn't slower, so he had some kind of issue. Either he missed his pit stall or had a slow exit out of his pit stall, but it drops him all the way to 13th. When his teammates Fabian Saralegui that Saralegui he pitted with is up in 8th ahead of Connor Acatella. So a little shuffle there down pit road. Up front, these are lap times that are a little over 1.5 minutes. So with 5 minutes to go, you're looking at maybe 3 or 4 laps left when they hit the line here. Just depends on how much time is left. We're looking back at McKenzie as he goes in deep. Hitting Lauzon there momentarily and definitely losing some time, but still less than half a second away. And out of the final corner, we hit the 30-minute mark. 5 minutes to go. Lauzon leads. He crosses the line with 30 minutes, 10 seconds left. So that'll either be 3 or 4 laps. It's going to be close. It might be 3. For now, he holds that lead, and further back, everyone looking fairly static in that group. But back here in the Delta class, you have Rick Meyer, Rakowski, and McAllister all battling. Rakowski on the inside. She's going to try and take this position from McAllister, and she's done it there. Slips ahead. Next up is Rick Meyer. Rick Meyer running 12th in class at the moment. He's been trying to keep this group behind him for what feels like the whole race. It's, every time I look at this group, it's this same group of cars. And McAllister sends it back on Rakowski. Maybe a little bit of contact. Murray will get a chance to come at them. He goes all the way to the left side of the track. And across the line there, coming at turn 1, 3 wide. Who's going to win out? Rakowski takes the apex. Murray has to slot back behind. McAllister's in the middle. They all did a good job of not coming to blows there. We look at Schink, who is currently under pressure from Augustin Fernandez. Fernandez looking to get back up into 12th, and he will do so, going around a fellow Elantra. So we look back to Lazan, and he is going to hit the start-finish line now at 31:45. And he's still got a decent lead here over McKenzie. Lazan's last victory, it would have come back at Okayama. It was the second heat race at Okayama back in season 10, round 6. So that was almost exactly 3 seasons ago. And a lot of fighting happening back here. We have Mitchell, Saab, Lin, Zepka. And this is important because Saab, the Delta leader, Chang is back there. And if Saab gets shuffled to the back of this little trio of Alpha drivers behind him, then the battle for the Delta lead will be on. Evan Clavijo, I see him dropping, and he has had some sort of issue. It looks like the car might be broken. He pulls into pit lane. Gonzalo Fabi goes around David Bauer, and now Saralegi trying to do the same, and they come to blows. Bauer slides off into the gravel, and that is going to end that battle for position, and that promotes a few other drivers. Fernandez now up to P11 after that. Lazan entering the final 2 corners now, and there will be just 2 laps to go this time by. And McKenzie's right on the back of him here. This is very close. Out of the final corner, McKenzie has a run, and Lazan a little slow there. Looking to the left into turn 1. Now, wait a minute here. The battle for the lead may be on with 2 to go in Germany. Polasek looking for something in. Things were to happen. McKenzie on the left side here. Can he keep a nose in? If not, Polasek, he'll be opening the door for Polasek. He's got to keep the nose in. He just does. Lazan still defending here. Tough to defend the outside into turn 3, but he's got a big advantage. Goes around the outside. McKenzie pulls up alongside him. Now Hendricks is pulled up alongside Polasek. We're 2 by 2 for the lead at Oschersleben with 1 minute to go. 2 laps to go. McKenzie going up the inside of Lazan through the triple left-hander. Lazan getting a little sideways into the corner. McKenzie takes the lead. Lazan P2. Polasek stays ahead of Hendricks, who is now under pressure from Dan McFarland. McFarland trying to get up the inside into the chicane, and he does. He gets past into P4. What a scrappy move from McFarland. He's gone from 3rd to 8th to 4th in this race. And now Logan McKenzie with just 1 lap to go. He will be very close to ending this whole thing right here. They enter the final 2 corners. They will get the white flag this time by Lazan. He is pulling down pit lane. He didn't have the fuel. He was fuel saving. They didn't put enough in the car when he came back in for his stop. And that's going to cost him a podium, maybe even the lead. That may have been why McKenzie was able to get around him. They take the white flag as they head down to turn 1. Saralegi trying to defend against Hendricks. Whoa, Hendricks ended up all the way back here. What happened there? Did he get a slowdown? He slipped behind Fabi and Saralegi on that last lap. Brian Saab, still your Delta leader. He's kept Mitchell, Lin, and Zepka all behind him. Chang's been able to do nothing. McKenzie maybe about to pick up Yellow Tide Racing's first official victory under the new name. Michael Polasek's right behind him. He hasn't won a race yet this season. The defending champion is right there. If McKenzie makes a mistake, through the chicane they go, on board with Polasek. He'll be pushing as hard as he can to get the momentum to try and get to McKenzie, but McKenzie has gotten a good exit there, and he, I think, has the gap he needs. But of all people to be on the podium with him, McFarland, his main championship rival, we mentioned earlier, they were both further back in the field in race 1. Well, here they are, both sitting on the podium with the defending champion in race 2, and McKenzie with 2 races to go. Who would have thought, after all that happened in this race, McKenzie around the final corner, he will pick up his 34th victory in the series and his 2nd of the season. McKenzie wins at Oschersleben. Polasek P2 and McFarlane rounds out the podium. And Brian Saab, he has to go through the final 2 corners now. He's got Chang behind him. He may be receiving a penalty in the first race, but in the second race, he's done a good job to keep these Alpha drivers behind him, to keep Chang behind him. 4OGs is back on top in the Delta class. Brian Saab across the line at Oschersleben. And JB DJ sneaks onto the podium there at the end, beats out Rizla, beats out Bowman, and he is 3rd place. For a track, a very strange track that certainly looked like it raced strangely, drove strangely, so many sweepers, but in the end, 4 unique winners. We have Tianyi Chang and Augustin Fernandez with their first career victories in race 1. And then in race 2, we see the vets, Brian Saab and Logan McKenzie, showing that experience can get you on top as well. We see McKenzie, Raymond 2, and I think that is it Sarah Leggy or Fabi? There's Fabi, or excuse me, there's Sarah Leggy. There's Fabi. They're all driving a different car. So Fabi's got the Honda and Sarah Leggy's got the Veloster. And then you have Fernandez in the Elantra. So that will do it for the racing here at Oschersleben. Round 3 wrapped up. Next week we go to Phillip Island, another track that ATC has never been to. Back-to-back brand new tracks for the series. That's extremely exciting. But before we do that, we've got to take a look at the results from today. So let's do that now. Let's jump over and take a look. So the first race of the day, your results are as follows. Augustin Fernandez on top, and he locks out the 1-2 finish with Manuel Saralegui, half a second off of him. Then Polasek on the podium. Then you have Fabi, Carr, Hendricks, Mayer, McKenzie, McFarlane, and Schink finishing up the Alpha Top 10. In the Delta class, Tianyi Chang on top. He picks up his first career victory, finishing just behind TZR Racing teammate Cooper Akers. Brian Saab provisionally P2 there, but you have Jason Breen and Evan Clavijo just behind. Then Al Rijla and Nigel Honegger with a good Delta finish in his first appearance. And further down the order, you see Sedano, Bowman, Kerr. We didn't see Kerr's teammate back today, Lodato. He had to miss. Lodato had a good performance at Phoenix last week. You see Spencer Clark down there in 35th. Rick Meyer there in 37th. Eventually did finish ahead of McAllister and Gaynor. And that is your results for the first race. And now for the feature race. It is Logan McKenzie at the top step with Polasek and McFarlane alongside him. And right now, they look like his primary championship rivals. But once we get the drop weeks involved, don't count out any of the ATR drivers. The championship race looks wide open, honestly, right now. And in a couple weeks' time, I'm really excited to see how it looks. But further down the order, of course, Fabi, Saralegui, Hendricks, Acatella with a P7 and 2 with a P8. Both of them having great career finishes there. Mayer and Fernandez rounding out the top 10. Brian Saab in the Delta class with a victory in 16th overall, finishing 4 spots ahead of second place Tianyi Chang, who picks up big Delta points today. And then JB DJ having a good second race, finishing in 3rd on the Delta podium. Then Al Rijla and Bowman pulled up the rear behind. Here are the rest of the results from the race going down. You see Rick Meyer again finishing ahead of Rakowski, McAllister, and Murray in that little battle that was going on there. Lausanne eventually finished 38th. Just painful to see. Then Clavijo all the way down in 40th. So the Delta Championship, I'm interested to see how that develops now as well. I think Guadarijla has had a very consistent season. He'll probably be in the lead of it. We'll see here in just a moment. That wraps up our racing from Oschersleben. Next week, we go to Australia. Phillip Island is the location, and we will see you there for 50 minutes of racing. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in and enjoying the Alpha Touring Challenge, and good night.